I'm going to ask everyone to do something for me. Look around you. How many people do you see? Will you remember who they are 80 years from now? Guess what? That's my dilemma today. Today I'm challenged to do just that. But 80 years ago, I saw the world as a young, untried, cocky boot Marine, as others in my unit, as we left the States in January 1942. Midway, though, is going to change that persona. When we left the States, we stopped at Pearl Harbor. It was still burning. We reloaded, refitted the ship, and headed for Midway. My first sight of Midway looked like a sandbar. As we got closer, then I realized that it was more than just one island. It was overcast, late afternoon, and we pulled into the harbor and onto the dock. As we got on the dock and agreed to march out onto the island, a submarine surfaced in the same area where we passed over. No wonder we had so many planes and ships out there protecting us. We thought they were greeting us. But the food was good, and I was assigned to a machine gun bunker on the southeast side of Sand Island. We conducted work parties during the day, if not for training, and at night in the PM at beach patrols. The Goonie Bird liaison albatross was our source of entertainment. We had no radios per se. Do-it-yourself crystal receivers. We built them out of razor blades and coils of wire wrapped around a toilet paper tube. The antennas took a beating because of the birds. On the radio, though, only at night. We picked up Del Rio, Texas, which was a radio station out of Mexico. Its call sign was XERA. And Tokyo Rose was our favorite, though, and that was at night. And she played melancholy and sentimental songs, White Christmas, Moonlight Cocktail, Tangerine. But those were our normal, everyday operations. During the morning, though, of the attack of the planes that were headed for Sand Island, we were told the machine gunners and the bunkers to get underground. We were not to engage. The attack lasted about 17, 20 minutes. Planes had to go back and refuel, and we were then allowed to come out and be ready for when they did come back, but they never did. I felt irritated. I had trained for a year and didn't get a damn shot off. We lacked good battle information. We didn't know what was going on out there. It was probably near the end of, it was probably 2 weeks before we realized that we were told that they were never coming back because the Navy had sunk 4 aircraft carriers. I stayed in Midway until August.
Sergeant Fox, would you tell us about how it felt to return to Midway during the 75th anniversary?
First off, being invited for the 75th was quite a surprise, but I'm going to have to cheat a little bit on how I got there to be invited to that particular anniversary. In late 1900s, Ellen Sander of Arton, is her trade name, was a creator of the first Battle of Midway Memorial at the Chicago Midway Airport. The presentation and ceremony was completed in 2001. The Battle of Midway Roundtable veterans were her source of information. I was one. There was an elaborate ceremony, hundreds and hundreds of people. When it was over with, I thought about a thank you note, which was not sufficient to send to her about my appreciation. So I pondered how I was going to thank that lady for that. It's still there. Wonderful operation that she made. So after about 2 years, I decided I'd write a letter to the Department of Interior and ask for a flag being flown on Midway that I could send to her. the phone rang. And a lady was on the other end who was sharp to me. She may have identified herself, which is, "Are you the person that wrote Washington about a flag to be raised at Midway Island?" And I thought, wow, I really did it this time. And I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "How about coming out here and doing it yourself?" Ann Bell was her name. Bob Payton was the Midway Refuge manager, and they had invited me. I've made a couple of visits since that particular time, and that was 2012, which has led up to the 75th anniversary, which was an impressive event. The island was packed. Families of people that had lost their lives on the island were there. The United States Navy was there, the musicians, bands, more visitors. And I'm sure the Goonie birds on the island must have felt a new species had arrived. But several indelible events stood out to me, two of them. The United States Navy transmitted via satellite the wreath laying, and Colonel Michener, the Master Chief of the nuclear submarine of Hawaii, and myself walked up to the memorial and placed a wreath and gave formal salutes to the wreath. Native Hawaiians were involved with casting flowers at the lagoon of Midway. Vice Admiral Yogi Koda, Imperial Japanese Navy, stepped up to me, saluted, and asked permission to embrace me. It's a rare happening in a Marine's life, and especially to me.
Why was it important for you to go back to Midway?
Important to go back to Midway. I guess a feeling of great pride that I felt. The best way to describe, to thank the memorial caretakers and realizing that the few Battle of Midway veterans who do remain, we are the lucky ones again, allowed to represent our fallen brothers this 4 June 2022. The 80th anniversary. Didn't know it was going to happen, but it's unbelievable. Another opportunity to pay my respects to those who were not as lucky as I, allowing me to tell you and the kids what they did and why. I could not have experienced this 80th visit had it not been for my host. My hosts for this once-in-a-lifetime visit from the United States Fish and Wildlife Service are Miss Pamela Repp, Amanda Boyd, Ann Bell, and my escort, Rebecca Chuck. I am honored and humbled. Thank you, ladies.
Sergeant Fox, why is it important for people to remember the Battle of Midway?
A lot of people do remember, and I'm reminded often by them. But the defeat of the Japanese at Midway was the kibosh of the Japanese advancement in the Pacific, and without a doubt, the greatest naval battle in the history of the United States Navy. Semper Fi.